What is going on, Green Teamers? Welcome back to the latest episode of the Green Teamers podcast. As always, you got your boy Ernie and my co-host Marvelous Marvin.
I am me. How you doing today?
We're going to go over the Celtics, the past couple games that the Celtics played in. We'll take a look at the upcoming schedule that the Celtics are playing in. We'll open it up to some NBA news, and then from there we'll just let the thoughts flow, come and go as they do.
Breaking news, Celtics on fire.
On fire.
Motherfuckers have been burning lately.
The trend continues. I think we talked about that last week when we were speaking on the upcoming games.
Absolutely.
I think we both mentioned 3-0, but I definitely mentioned that I felt the Celtics would just continue on that same roll, and that they are, if not even better. But definitely looking good. So let's just get right into the games this past week. Let me take a look here.
Before we get into the Celtics news, let's just talk about a couple things that have gone on in the NBA, the association. Last night, the Miami Heat were playing the Golden State Warriors. You had Jimmy Butler and Udonis Haslem sort of getting into a tiff. I call it a tiff.
On the sidelines, right?
Yeah,
on the bench. Yes,
during the timeout,
I did see that.
Had to do with Spoelstra calling out Jimmy Butler. Butler going back at Spoelstra, and then Spoelstra asking pretty much, "Were you trying to fight me?"
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Is that what I didn't get too much? I didn't do my research after the fact. I just saw that video of them arguing, so I didn't know what it was about, what it might have been about.
Just me cutting through corners. That's pretty much the main basis of it.
The juicy
details.
Gotcha.
Butler challenging Spoelstra asking, "What, you trying to fight me?" Mm-hmm. And then Udonis, being the rider he is, he's going to stand up for his coach.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Udonis Haslem was coming more from a point of don't disrespect the coach.
Right.
Or definitely don't disrespect them on the court at least. Like, if you got an issue, we'll resolve that in the locker room.
That's exactly what he said. He said we could take this shit out back. Like, if you're looking to fight somebody, then I that's where I respect UD. If you're looking to fight somebody, don't look at him. Fight me. And then, shit, they had their shit. And then after that, it was game over. It was pretty much water under the bridge. But at that moment, Spoelstra sort of viewed it as a way to sort of heat up their
intensity.
Yeah, because they were stagnant
during that game.
Yeah, okay. They were losing big against the Warriors, and after that, they actually started coming back.
Really?
Yeah, okay. But they still lost the game though. But it definitely lit a fire under their ass.
So I guess it kind of depends at how you're looking at it. You can either look at it as the Heat kind of having some turmoil, and maybe there's actually a bigger situation going on in the locker room, or you can. I'm sure as a Miami Heat fan, not that you're a Miami Heat fan, but as a Miami Heat fan, I'm sure you can kind of look at it as it kind of put a fire under their feet.
And right.
Got them going. But as Celtics fans, we like to think of it as turmoil and we're hoping it kind of...
It boils over into the playoffs?
Yeah, kind of domino effects into something else, or whether it's they start playing bad in the playoffs or drop a seeding or two. But I'm sure that's what most Celtics fans are hoping for.
That's what I'm looking forward to. And if that ends up becoming a 1-8 matchup, you might see Miami versus the Brooklyn Nets, who now have a fully returning Kyrie Irving. They lifted the vaccine mandate in New York, finally, thank fucking God. The whole shit was ridiculous and stupid to begin with. The way I view it, COVID won the battle, New York won the battle, but Kyrie won that war. Kyrie won that war. So
that is a good way to put it.
I'll give him all the applause in the world, because he stood on what he stood for, what he stood on it, what he stands for, and they ended up capitulating to his request. He said, "Well, shit, if you don't want me to play, if you don't want me to play in the city, then I guess I ain't playing." And they said, "Nah, nigga, we need you to play though." So hold up. And so all the power to Kyrie. Fuck New York for that. All the power to Kyrie. Having said that, though, that changes things in the playoffs.
Definitely. I think it comes down to like last week where I said I'd rather the other teams kind of eliminate themselves.
Right.
So yes, the Celtics are only, I think it's a game and a half back of the number one seed.
Game and a half, right?
Yeah, they're a game and a half back of that number one seed. But now that they have a full strength Nets team, like I was saying last week, I don't know how desirable that number one seed is. I think I'd rather stay at maybe 3-4, end up playing the Cavs or the Bulls.
My thing about that is you're absolutely right, where I don't want to see the Brooklyn Nets in the first round. However, having said that, I don't want the Celtics to start putting in their mind, all right, we're playing well, but we can't play too well to where we get that first seed, and we're trying. I don't want them to be playing to avoid Brooklyn. Just play your games.
That's fair.
If you're winning these games, you're winning these games. If you happen to face Brooklyn in the first round, then so be it. Let the chips fall where they may. But don't use that as, all right, we're in the 3rd seed, 4th seed now. Let's dial it back a little bit so we avoid Brooklyn. Because when you start doing shit like that, it ruins the momentum. It ruins what you got going on. Because you can, who knows? We just carry on. Maybe we'll finish as the 3 seed and won't even have to worry about Brooklyn until the conference finals, which would be amazing.
No, that's a great point that you bring up. I definitely never thought of that in my head as far as, in order to miss that number 1 seed, we might have to play down a little bit. And like you said, we definitely don't want to do that. If we're playing great, if we're playing like an NBA champion, there's no reason that we can't just go through Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and then the Suns in the finals type.
Right.
If that's what it takes to be the NBA champions and we're playing like them, there's no reason that can't be our path, and it isn't a winnable path.
You just sort of mentioned or alluded to it, and you're right. If you're playing to avoid Brooklyn, then you ain't ready to win the chip.
Mm-hmm.
Because and the same could be said out west. That means like you're hoping that Golden State or Phoenix, something happens to them, so you play the worst team going in. You don't want that. You want to play the best team going into the finals, going into the playoffs. So if that so happens to be Brooklyn, fuck it, bring it on. And it makes the title so much better.
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't know if it was last week or maybe it was the week before that, but you definitely mentioned how if we went through Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, all these teams, then nobody can talk shit about the Celtics that we didn't deserve this, we didn't deserve that.
Absolutely.
Like, that is the definition of grit and grind.
There's no asterisks to it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be almost in comparison to Dirk winning his championship in 2011.
For sure.
That was the hardest championship ever won in NBA history. He went through.
Ooh. I mean, we can bring that up at a later time because that's definitely a good point.
But he went up against the gauntlet there.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Like I said, I'm a little hesitant to call it the hardest path of all time, but definitely props where props are, or give credit where credit is due.
I feel you.
And that championship was definitely a tough championship.
It's the only one Dirk needed, and now he's got a statue.
But before we get too carried away, let's get back into the Celtics talk. So this past week we had 3 games. The first one was against the Denver Nuggets, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then last night against the Utah Jazz. Marvin, let me open it up to you. Any first impressions, first thoughts?
I thought Utah would come out a lot stronger. I was expecting more of a matchup, a closer game than expected. But by halftime, we had that shit sort of sealed in the bag.
I wouldn't even say halftime. I'd say by the end of that first quarter, man.
Shit was signed, sealed, and delivered.
Before the end of that first quarter, we were up at least maybe like 17, if not 20 at the most.
Halftime, we were up 20 for sure.
But at no point in time do I think the lead ever got down past like 12.
Right.
So,
and again, that's my bad.
No,
last night's game was another example where it was those type of games where you're sitting there watching, but you can comfortably switch the channel to something else and then come back and be like, all right, the Celtics should still be up right now. And that's exactly what happened.
I will say, at least this time around, I forget who the game was that you said, I think it was the Kings, where you said the game was just too boring.
You couldn't keep, yeah.
Yeah, so where you knew the Celtics were blowing them out, so you kind of just switched the channel and watched something else. And I mentioned that I fell asleep during some parts of the game. But I think the game last night against the Jazz, while yes, it was a blowout, and like I said, I think it was in the bag by the end of the first quarter, at least that game was more enjoyable. And
it was.
Donovan Mitchell was still doing his thing. I think he had like more than 30 points. So
at least.
It wasn't much of a wash, but it was definitely a fun game to watch.
Absolutely, definitely.
And to your point real quick about the Jazz, of you thinking that the Jazz game was going to be a little bit more competitive. Yes, the Jazz weren't hitting all their shots, but I think that, especially last night, it really just proved how on a roll the Celtics are at the moment. Like,
that's
no matter who
true.
It is, we're on a roll, we're coming to play, and we're coming to win.
Yeah, we're pushing dubs.
So, yeah, I agree with you. The Utah Jazz game was set and sealed by the first quarter, but still an enjoyable game. How about that Oklahoma City game? There, I forget his name already, and I apologize because credit to him. I think it was like something Man but he had
Terrence, man.
He was like 7 for 7 from 3, and he was the only one really kind of guiding the Thunder to stay competitive during the game.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries, so they had a lot of their good players were out. You had
I'm actually gonna take a look at his name right now, just to give him the credit he's due.
Gilgeous Alexander was playing too. He played pretty well.
Oh yeah, he's when you watch him play, you can tell there's something there. And in general, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're only a couple pieces away from at least being like a 7 or 8 seed consistently.
They have enough pieces to trade to get back at least a star or one big star and one decent player in return. They have enough trade pieces to do that this offseason.
Gotcha. You believe so?
I believe so. I believe that Oklahoma City is about 3 years away from being a Western Conference perennial threat. 3 years away.
I was going to say more along the lines of, well, real quick, it is, sorry, I had his name, Trey Man.
Oh, not Terrence Man?
No, it's Trey Man, but he went 7 for 12 from 3, and ultimately...
That nigga's Trey Man.
7 for 12 from 3, and ultimately had 35 points. So shout out to him, because I think he was what kept the Thunder competitive. But back to my Thunder being better point, I think they're going to get better just because I think within the next 4 or 5 years, they have like 30 picks or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. They're not going to draft all those picks. Some of them are going to be stashed, kind of like the Celtics did. I hated that. Some of them will be stashed. A lot of them will be traded back to other teams for mid-level players, or those type of players that can sort of bolster your bench. And then they have pieces on their squad already that they can pair together with those trade picks to get themselves like a Bradley Beal type of star.
Gotcha. Okay, I think it'll be a little harder than just putting some, like, if they're going to be good, I think it's going to be solely off the draft, and I think they're going to go the Sixers route and just trust the process.
They did it before.
And they're going to use a majority of those picks and just, like, eventually you're like throwing darts at the dartboard, eventually you're going to hit the bullseye.
That's the thing, though, that the OKC Thunder seem to hit the bullseye often because the Thunder, to begin with, was a farm system where they drafted Westbrook, they drafted Durant, they drafted Harden, they drafted Ibaka. They all became star players. Even after that, they drafted Reggie Jackson, they drafted Steven Adams. I forget the dude's name, but he's good. He's good at scouting talent that fits his squad. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. It's only a matter of time before they use the pieces that they already have because they're good pieces, along with maybe 1 or 2 players in the draft. I'm not really too keen on what's going on in the draft this year. I don't really follow the draft too much or too often, so I don't know the names coming out. Mm-hmm. But there's got to be at least one player in there that OKC can grab. And on top of the players they have and the picks they have, that's why I think that they can really make some moves this year and next year, which is why I think it's a 3-year plan to get to where Phoenix is right now.
Okay. Like I said, I think it'll take a little longer than that. I don't think they're going to be that good that quickly, but I do think they'll be a solid 7 to 8, maybe even a 6 seed. But all great points, Marvin. Definitely the OKC Thunder have a reputation to, like you said, draft good players and develop their own guys. And I'm sorry, who was the guy you just mentioned? This joint is kicking my ass right now.
Who did I just mention?
The guy who was good. I don't know why I'm talking like I don't know basketball.
The other man, not Terrence Man.
SGA.
Oh, Shai Glizzy. Yeah, I can't pronounce.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai Glizzy.
Yeah, like they did a good job of drafting him, and he might be a valuable piece that's movable and attractive for other teams.
Absolutely.
But let's keep it going. Denver Nuggets. Jokic, did he impress you? Did he not impress you? I think we did a good job of stopping him. What did you think?
I thought we did a good job. I think it shows how well our defense has been lately, how great our defense has been lately. Not even well, how great our defense has been lately. We were able to shut down Jokic to the best of our abilities. Like, he wasn't able to get the other players going. He wasn't able to get into his groove. And I credit that to, we talked last week about Marcus Smart being Defensive Player of the Year. Robert Williams, he's up there. Robert Williams is the anchor of our squad. defensively.
Okay.
When he's on the floor and he's on, like we are tough to beat. We are tough to sort of break defensively.
And I think the game last night was actually a good indication of that because he had like at least
3-4 blocks. Yeah. Good blocks. Al Horford even came through, got a block or two. Like everybody sort of steps up their game when they see Robert Williams defending the paint the way he should.
Definitely.
So I think he's more the anchor. If we're going to throw a defensive anything out, I think he might get at least second team.
All defensive?
Ahead of Marcus Smart.
And where do you think Marcus Smart would land?
Do they do third team defense or is it just first and second team?
I think it might be just 2.
Yeah.
You think he'll miss out completely?
I think he'll fall second.
Okay.
Because Tyrese Thibault tends to be the first one. First team all defense. And you got other dude from the Spurs. DeJounte Murray. He's a really good defender. Mm-hmm. So you tend to throw them out in the first team. But I can see Marcus being a second team along with Robert Williams.
I mean, there's also been a lot of talk of how guards don't or haven't won the award or, the Defensive Player of the Year award in a handful of years at least.
Since Gary Payton?
Yeah, I think I was going to say 20 years. At least 20 years. But I think because of that reputation, I think you automatically have to throw Rudy Gobert in there no matter how you feel, whether he deserves it or not.
That's the
Same thing with Joel Embiid and Jokic on his aside from the the MVP race, he's going to be thrown into
Giannis too.
All the defensive awards as well.
Right.
But I love that first game. The Denver Nuggets really showed me how tight-knit and how the team chemistry is really coming along now.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you heard, but at the end of the game, Grant kind of joked around and he said he wanted his new nickname to be Batman.
Yep.
Because he stopped Jokic or the Joker. And that kind of just funny stuff. And granted, I agree it's going to be kind of hard to call him Batman.
Too early for that.
But I think it'll be like
Too early.
I think it'll be like a Celtics fans.
Oh, they already started last night. They started.
They're really pushing it, and I think it's going to be like I said, it's going to be a thing between Celtics fans, not necessarily the whole NBA.
No, it's going to be just an NBA, Boston Celtics Green Teamers type of thing.
Right.
Same goes with Jason Tatum and the Kiss of Death.
Oh,
they were debating last night whether to call it the Kiss of Death or the Goodnight Kiss.
Well, the thing is, if it was the Kiss of Death or the Goodnight Kiss, he would only have to do it like once a game, and at the very end, like the actual nail in the
dagger,
coffin.
the dagger.
I think it might have been last night or 2 games ago, but he did it like in the middle of the game, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong; it was like his 3rd, 4th 3 in a row, but it was still the middle of the game. You know what I mean? I completely agree. I love it. I think it's definitely showboating, but it's more of like a brush your shoulder off type of boating.
The same way LeBron be hitting that big shot and then.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck,
So I'm all for it. I'm all for that being his thing. But you got to wait till the 4th quarter to seal the game.
Yeah, it's got to be a dagger.
That's when you blow your kisses.
No, you're absolutely right on that. And
I'm sorry, man.
No, you're fine.
You're
fine. And I agree with that. So if you want to call it the Kiss of Death or the Goodnight Kiss, either way, it still needs to be a situation where it's that final big blow. Mm-hmm. You just can't keep doing it consistently.
Right.
And then it's going to be like, all right, bro.
So, like I said, I thought that Denver Nuggets game did a great job of illustrating the team chemistry and just the bond we're having right now. And that just created that domino effect against the Thunder. And then who did we play last night? Jazz. Just following every game, after every game is just getting better and better and better. And what better time to do that than with 8 games remaining before the playoffs start?
You're right. We're riding a good wave, which is why I personally feel like we shouldn't play down to avoid Brooklyn or any other type of shit. Just keep playing the way you're playing.
Definitely.
Let the chips fall where they may, and we'll do our thing after that.
So, continuing on here a little bit, we're going to just bring up the upcoming games this week. Yeah. We have 3 again. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves on Sunday. We got the Toronto Raptors on Monday. And the Miami Heat on Wednesday. So, first impressions, Marvin? I always open it up to you first, man, so take it away. He's nervous.
I'm nervous. But I'm going to stay strong. I'm going to say another 3-0. I've been keeping it consistent. I said 3-0 last week, 3-0 the week before. The week before I ended up being 2-1. So I'm going to go 3-0 again.
3-0 again?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to say 3-0. But I have to say 2-1 just because.
Think Miami scares you?
I think Miami scares me.
You pussy to Miami.
Not even I was gonna say Minnesota, that we would lose to Minnesota, and
Minnesota's been playing well.
only because I don't think we'll finish this season undefeated. So at some point we got to lose, and I just feel like maybe Minnesota is just gonna be on that night. Just give us their best and just do better than us for that night. I don't think it'll be anything to panic about, obviously. But again, I don't think we'll end the season undefeated. So I'm gonna say 2-1. We'll lose to Minnesota and then be like, oh, we lost. Let's
keep
it up. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say 2-1 only because, like I said, I don't think we're gonna go undefeated the rest of the season. So
when's that game against the Wolves?
The Wolves is on Sunday.
Okay.
So that was actually my next point. Is we're kind of going through a little withdrawal period here because the last game was on Wednesday and we don't have a game till Sunday. So I guess I'll have to find something to watch or do on my Friday and Saturday nights versus sometimes watching the Celtics.
Well, motherfuckers, watch this podcast.
There you go.
That'll give y'all something to do. But I'm calling 3-0.
3-0. But now let me bring this point up to you. If we open up the schedule a little bit and just take a look at it looks like we have 8 games remaining. So yes. If we open it up to all 8, let me just read off the names for you. We got Minnesota, Toronto, Miami, Indiana, Washington, Chicago, Milwaukee, and Memphis. So if you take a look at those 8 games, I have Miami, Chicago, Milwaukee, and Memphis. Those are all big games, and that game against Chicago, Milwaukee, and Miami is definitely going to change the standings, and it's going to change them real quick because on one night we play Miami, we move closer. We lose to Milwaukee, we move down. So there's going to be a lot of moving pieces these last couple games.
Chicago will be that swing game, I personally think.
Like it could go either way?
That will be the game that could go either way. A game that I can see us losing. What were the other teams aside from the 4 juggernauts or the 4 good teams?
We had Minnesota, Indiana, Washington, and Toronto.
Toronto might be that L.
Well, you just said we'd go 3-0.
Oh, no. Oh, wait, is Toronto that next? It's
after Minnesota, yeah.
Toronto.
So it goes Minnesota, Toronto, Miami, Indiana.
Oh, yeah, no. Then 2-1. Yeah, 2-1 this week.
2-1?
Yeah, because I think Toronto will be that L, and Chicago will be that swing game that can go either way. Mm-hmm. But I think if we do catch an L in the next 8 games, it's going to be against the Raptors.
Yeah, no, they're a good team as well. All these remaining games, like I said, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces, so it'll be interesting. We'll get to them when we get to them. We'll take it by a week-by-week basis, but the playoffs are rapidly approaching, so couldn't be playing better basketball at a better time. Marvin, any final thoughts? Any final topics?
No, not really.
Crossed everything on your mind?
Crossed my eyes.
Checked it all off your list?
At least for the Green Teamers podcast.
So there you have it, folks. That's the Green Teamers podcast. Catch us next week and catch. You close it, man. You close it.
Burning thoughts coming soon.
Peace.